Hey, are you wondering what's going on in the duplex, triplex, fourplex market in Redmond, Oregon right now here in middle of May 2026? Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on with my hand compiled market data report for the Redmond area for just 2, 3, and 4 unit properties. So let's see what is happening and how it looks similar or different to what's been happening recently there in the market. So right now, looking at May 15th data, and we're going to look back and compare it to just a little under a month ago and about a month before that. There are 5 properties that are currently active, which is similar, same as last time, and similar to March. Come down just a little bit. One new listing in the last 30 days, whereas there had been two the last time I did this report. But pretty consistent here. We do see more listings, I'd say generally speaking, in the spring. Seems like kind of like the selling season, so things come on the market. Um, our average price per square foot being asked right now is 200 and basically $77,000, which is down just a hair from last month, but is down nearly $50,000 from March, which I think is kind of interesting. Our prices per square foot, though, actually are pretty much in the same ballpark, 318 versus 320 or 324, give or take a small margin there. So what we're seeing is, I would say, like reasonability with the sellers right now, and that is translating into some pending sales. So we have, we have 5 that are currently active. We have 2 that are currently pending, which is a really good thing as well. And we're going to see that some properties are getting closed here too. One little bit of data I always like to pull is the expired, withdrawn, or canceled listings in the last 6 months. Why do I want to look at this? Well, to me, this shows like anybody can list a property anytime at any price. So you could list a property for, you could list this $800,000 property for $6 million, and it's not going to go anywhere. So if we're only looking at active listings, that doesn't totally tell the story. We also want to see how many go on the market and don't sell but get taken off the market anyway, because that's sort of like, how much fishing is going on with a seller just putting something out there just to see what might happen. Well, in the last 6 months, 11 times that has taken place, which is a little bit lower than the last time I pulled the data in April, but the same as in March, the 6 months prior to March 15th. So that seems to be a pretty consistent figure. But the good news is we do have actives, we have pendings, and we had 8 properties now in the last 6 months, as of May 15th, and the 6 months before that, that have closed. And they have closed at an average price per price per unit of 200 and basically $70,000, which is very consistent with 265 basically before that, and 275 before that too. So what we see is some consistency across these periods of time here, the first quarter or two of 2026. We also look at a price per square foot. It's usually a helpful and reasonable metric to have a look at. The closed properties were $237 a square foot, as opposed to 234, like almost exactly the same, and 253. So very small amounts of variance in between those, and these are actually closing pretty quickly, with just 40 days being on market. So I would say that the Redmond sellers here that are getting their deals closed have been very reasonable, and they've been rewarded for being very reasonable because their properties sold at reasonable figures in very reasonable amounts of time. It's always interesting, I think, to look at the gap between the price per square foot that's being asked currently, sorry, the price per unit that's being asked currently versus what is selling, and seeing how different those are. Well, what's selling is basically 270,000 a foot, and what's being asked is 277,000. So very similar. Like that's not too big of a. It doesn't seem like people are swinging for the stars in terms of the average price per unit now in what's listed currently. But what we do see a pretty big difference though is the the price per foot up here is 318 versus 237. That's a That's a really big difference. You know, it's like a 30% difference or so between those two numbers. And so I have a feeling that's what's keeping some of these properties on the market a little bit longer. So that's what's happening in Redmond right now. That's the general market data for two, three, and four plexes that I hand compile. But most importantly, what matters is what's going on with your property, the one that you own, the one that you want to buy. And so we can take all the market stats, and those are great frames of reference, but we should look at what's very unique and specific to your property, the one you own, the one you want to own. So please reach out to me if you want to discuss 2 to 4 unit properties and investing strategy and financing and all that good stuff. I'd love to have that conversation with you. Like I said, this is what I do only because this is what I built my own portfolio on, and I consider myself a Plex investor and fellow landlord above all else, and a realtor second. Reach out to me anytime, and please feel free to don't just feel free, please subscribe to this channel and like this video, and I'll see you in the next market report.